Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me at the back? Thumbs up? Good. Well, my IT man has gone walkabout, so I hope it continues that way. I've got a quick question for you. How long do you think we've had coffee shops in this country? A long, long time. In fact, for 371 years. A long, long time. Now, the first coffee shop opened in the High Street in Oxford. This is a picture that I took a couple of days ago of the Grand Cafe, which is the coffee shop on the site of the first coffee shop that opened in Oxford. And before you ask, I wasn't at the opening. Now, they did so well that 4 years later, a second coffee shop opened in Oxford on the High Street. The name was Queen's Coffee House. And they didn't just open on the High Street in Oxford, they opened directly opposite. If you look closely, this is the picture I took. There's the Grand Cafe on the right, and Queen's House Coffee House on the left. So for those people who think there's too much competition, competition has been around from the very beginning. And when I went past these coffee shops last weekend, they were both very busy. Coffee shops did really, really well. And by 1650, there were 82 coffee shops in the City of London alone. They have become an integral part of our society. They helped found Lloyd's of London Insurance and the Stock Exchange. So not only are they a longevity business, they are an integral part of our community. After all, they survived the plague, 2 world wars, countless recessions, and have come out of the pandemic stronger than ever. So today, I'm going to tell you why now is a fantastic time to open a coffee shop. For those of you who don't know me, and I can see a few familiar faces in the audience, my name is Claire Bowen, and I'm a coffee shop coach. I work with startups and established businesses alike. I'm author of the world's best-selling book on how to open a coffee shop, The Daily Grind, and delighted that it's been awarded Best Coffee Book of all time. Thank you. The pandemic has speeded up change. Now, where there was a move towards things like working from home, now working from home is commonplace. The world has had a big jolt, and people are now thinking more carefully about their health, their jobs, and the environment. So what's that got to do with opening a coffee shop, I hear you say? Well, the first bit of good news is that coffee shops are a recession-proof business. As I said in my introduction, they've been around a long time and have survived a long time. The big winners of COVID has been the independent coffee shop, where coffee shops in city centres and malls have suffered. The winners have been the independent coffee shops in your local community. Back in the recession of 2009, Costa opened an extra 400 sites. The reason their managers, their owners said, was because people still wanted their little treats. Where high-end coffee shops, high-end restaurants failed, the coffee shops survived. And specialty coffee is a growing business. Just look at the high street. There are places like Greggs and Wetherspoons. They're all selling coffee and using it as a way to attract more business. People are looking for more value. And this is a watch out. This is not code for cheap. Value is people are looking for a fantastic service with a delightful environment, and you have to meet their needs to attract the people in 2022 and beyond. So, who's heard of the Coffees? The coffee shop used as an office. Now, as I said, we've had a big move from working at home, and now the use of the Coffees. Working from home is very, very lonely if you've done it. And people are craving social interaction. Coffee shop is the place to go and work. When they do go back to the office 2 or 3 days a week, they need somewhere to meet colleagues and catch up. And the coffee shop is the ideal place. A win-win for us all. After all, there are 42% less people in the city centres. People are still staying very close to home. Now, these office workers need somewhere to go that's got space. I'll try not to fall off the stage. I've got space, plenty of power, and good Wi-Fi, together with an attractive food menu. Now, meat and dairy alternatives are compulsory now, as people are thinking a lot more of the things they consume. And outside space is as important as ever, because people are still nervous about the virus. People will remember who looked after them. The big chains didn't do themselves any favours when they sacked all their staff and made them redundant at the first sign of trouble. The public will remember those people who looked after them and their team, and that's the community independent coffee shops. The third piece of news is closures. Now, there are many, many ready-made units available now than ever before. When a business closes, it's awful. After all, that business was somebody's pride and joy, somebody's life savings. It's bad news for them and their team. However, it's good news for the startup. Pret used the pandemic as an excuse to close a lot of their marginal sites. It's something they do in normal times when their leases in their marginal sites come up for renewal. But you may have noticed in the press, they closed a lot of marginal sites. Now a lot of units now are still running are marginal sites. They were marginal sites before COVID. You've all seen them. They're the ones that don't do a refit every 5 years, or they stick to the same boring old menu. They go into a cycle of doom and go to eventually close. But what the pandemic has done has brought that closure forward. Most businesses that close run out of cash. They haven't saved enough cash to pay the rent arrears that they stopped paying in the pandemic. And they're only still surviving because of the rent moratorium. This is where the government said a landlord couldn't kick a tenant out for not paying their rent. Now, this moratorium is coming to an end in April. And together with January's quarter of rent being due, an awful lot more businesses will close, which will mean there's an awful lot more empty units waiting for the independent small startup to take over. Now, this is a real biggie. You can save 100 grand on the opening of a coffee shop if you take over a closed unit that was previously used for hospitality, compared with opening a unit from scratch. These units will have air conditioning and ventilation in place. You will often have a fully fitted out kitchen. The water, the electrics will all be in the right place. Now, these things on their own are a considerable saving, but together you could save a ton of cash. Now, did you know, to add to this, there are acres of warehouses full of nearly new second-hand equipment that you could use to fit out a coffee shop. It's really, really embarrassing how cheaply you can now open and fit out a coffee shop, saving the new independent small businesses an absolute fortune. Landlords are acting very strangely. Times have been tough for them too. But they are doing two things that will help the new independent startup. The first thing is that they're reducing their rent on units that are coming available, especially ones where the footfall is very low. But don't expect to have a big red reduce sign on the outside of all these units. It's not advertised, and they won't tell you, but there are deals to be done, both reduced rent and extended rent-free deals. Landlords are now, after COVID, less compelled to only rent out their premises to blue chip companies. After all, it was those blue chip companies that gave them so much pain with the big use of CVAs during the pandemic. Landlords are much more open to working with a new independent startup, more so than ever before. But watch out. Don't expect to rock up and sign a lease with these landlords unless you've got a track record or a compelling business plan. They must buy in and like you and buy into your vision and know that you are going to add value to their portfolio. After all, a coffee shop, a good coffee shop, can revitalize an area and bring not only tenants but customers too. So it's a win-win for the landlord and for you. Now, if you've read my book or seen my YouTube channel or even heard me speak here before, you will know that I make a big deal out of not opening in a unit that's too small. Size matters. A small unit is a job, not a business. And Post-pandemic, size and space is more crucial than ever, and not just because of the social distancing. People are looking for a place to go to that has different zones more than ever. Zones that you can chill and chat, tables that you can hold meetings and work. All these places need to have had space in the first place, so the small unit cannot compete with these new independent coffee shops. The continental terrace has come of age. Now, if you've got a terrace outside that's heated, got a cover, so it's all year round use, you are at an advantage. So look for outside space. Another biggie is technology. Now, technology has taken leaps and bounds during the pandemic and since we've reopened. After all, who'd heard of Zoom before the pandemic? I wish I had and bought some shares. People are much happier now using apps, much more than they ever did before. They're used to pre-ordering and ordering at the table to save you time. And there are countless number of delivery apps that people are using now to increase their business, so that you can look after people further afield than your location where your shop is. So, in summary, as I've said, coffee shops are a recession-proof business. After all, they've survived the plague, 2 world wars, countless recessions, and now have come out of the pandemic stronger than ever. Working from home and the office has come of age in the UK. And I don't think I have seen in my lifetime so many fully fitted out units that are ready for you to take over and save tons of cash, that are open to the small, independent startup. And don't forget the rent deals and the extended rent-free periods. Ask. You won't have a big reduced sign on the outside. You have to ask. Together with the warehouses full of second-hand equipment, good second-hand equipment, that you can buy really, really cheaply. Adding on tech and the fact that the Joe public can now use tech like they've never used before. The coffee shop has been around for 371 years in this country, and it's in excellent health. So what are you waiting for? Thank you. Before I open up to questions, I'll leave this slide on there, and you can see how you can get in touch with me if you want to work with me, and you can see how to join our Start of a Coffee Shop training sessions. So, who's got the first question?